My name is Roger Schultz, and I'm a urologist who works with the Riverside Urology Specialists in our Williamsburg, Virginia office. I'd like to recognize the staff at the Diedusch History Museum located in the headquarters of the American Urological Association building near Baltimore. They sent me material to review about the history of the urinary catheter. You'll find a nice review article as well in the Journal of Urology, February 1994, authored by Drs. Bloom, McGuire, and Lapidus. You may also want to check out an article by Edson Outwin from the Bard Company called The Development of the Modern Catheter. Believe it or not, the Egyptians used bronze and tin to make catheters 3,000 years before the Common Era. The Hindus used tubes of gold, iron, and wood to dilate the urethra before 1000 BC. There's evidence that the Chinese used a lacquer-coated leaf from an onion plant. Ancient Roman catheters have been found made out of metal near Pompeii. Most of the earliest catheters were straight and did not consider the curvature of the posterior urethra. That must have hurt. But during the Dark Ages in Europe, medicine was advanced largely in the Arab world and the Mideast. Scholars in this area of the world promoted the notion that catheters should never be forcibly placed and that soft and flexible materials like animal skins were preferable to rigid instruments. Not much changed during the Renaissance. Oil and butter were used as lubricants. There was an awareness that pliable catheters made from rushes, wires, or wax would pass less traumatically. Curved catheters with large apertures and additional drainage holes were finally utilized. We have to jump far ahead into the 1880s before we begin to see some rapid progress in the type of catheters that you know today. Mercier introduced the coude catheter in 1836. Coude means elbow in French, and the catheter has a curved distal tip that passes more easily over an enlarged prostate. William Van Buren, a New York urological surgeon from the mid-1800s, made casts of the male urethra and determined the optimal arc and caliber for our modern instruments. Amissat and Civiale continued the work perfecting catheters at the Necker Hospital in Paris. But the biggest breakthrough came when Goodyear patented the use of hard rubber in 1851. Now the stage was set for a new line of catheters we know today. Auguste Nelaton, physician to Napoleon III, introduced a flexible rubber catheter in 1860. Not long thereafter, the Tiemann and Pezer catheters were produced in Germany and France, respectively. In 1892, Dr. Malacot presented his winged catheter in France. Around this same time period, Charrier, a Parisian instrument maker, developed the French scale, a sizing system for catheter. He proposed that the diameter of a catheter in millimeters equaled 3 times its caliber, so that a 3 millimeter diameter catheter was a 9 French catheter, a 6 millimeter diameter was an 18 French catheter. Around this time, Bill Roth, the German surgeon, began using bougies to dilate urethral strictures. By the late 1800s, you could now select one of 80 catheters from either the George Tiemann catalog in Germany or the surgical instrument company, the Eynard catalog in France. Filiforms and 4 French ureteral catheters were produced in the early 1900s and finally allowed dilation of strictures and catheterization of pediatric patients. Balloon catheters did not arrive until the 1920s and 30s. Dr. Odo of Providence, Rhode Island, tied a balloon made of rubber to a 2-way woven catheter. Unfortunately, the rubber quality was poor and the balloon broke after contact with urine. In the 1930s, several American urologists tried the same project. One was granted a patent, but it was never commercially produced. Finally, Dr. Hobart Belknap of Portland, Oregon, introduced a balloon catheter in 1933 that was sold by the Bard Company. Within a few years, 2 companies, the American Anode Company of B.F. Goodrich and Akron and the Duval Rubber Company of Providence, Rhode Island, had produced balloon catheters. The Anode Company, assisted by Dr. Fred Foley of St. Paul, Minnesota, produced the catheter that we now generically call a Foley. The Duval catheter came out at the same time. C.R. Bard Company began wide-scale distribution and later acquired the Duval Company. By the mid-20th century, catheters were produced on a large scale with different calibers, balloon sizes, holes, and ports. Then there were changes in materials. Plastic catheters were produced, as well as woven nylon catheters. Other catheters followed, including silicone catheters that avoided latex reactions and incrustation, catheters with silver alloy coatings that resist infection, and catheters with hydrogel coatings that reduce friction and mucosal irritation. Well, that's my brief historical review.